This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, call 920-435-2973 or visit pl-259.com. And by ICOM. Heard it, worked it, logged it. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information about ICOM radios.
It's Ham Radio.
Everyone, it's time for another Ham Talk Live. It's episode number 287. 10 meters of the 1010 International Net, recorded live on Thursday, January 27th, 2022. I'm your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight, we're joined by Keith Schlottman, KR7RK, and we'll take your calls live a little later on in the show. Last week, Dr. Nathaniel Frizzell, W2NAF, was here to talk about the upcoming HamSci conference in Huntsville. And if you missed the show, you can listen anytime at hamtalklive.com or on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. And you can always catch the rebroadcast of Ham Talk Live over on shortwave at 5085 AM. That's WTWW 5.085 Saturday afternoons at about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll be talking about 10 meters tonight. If you have some questions about 10 meters and the 1010 net, we'll have a chance for you to chime in here in just a little bit. If you're listening to us live on Thursday night, you can give us a call later on in the show. Let me go ahead and give you the phone number so you can write it down or punch it in and have it ready to go. And we'll give that number out several times again between now and when it is time to call. But that telephone number will be 859-982-7373. Again, the number is 859-982-7373. You can also tweet us. It's at Ham Talk Live on Twitter. If you're on Spreaker and you have an account, you can type to us in the comments as well. So I'll be back with Keith right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live.
Jerry, what's up, man? I haven't seen you at Sunbucks in a while. I used to see you every morning getting coffee. What's up?
Well, I can't afford Sunbucks 5 days a week anymore. I had to spend my money on PL259s. You know, those antenna projects I've been meaning to do. I had to do them before my HOA finds out I have antennas.
That's too bad, Jerry. I miss seeing you and catching up over coffee. You should get your PL259s from Tower Electronics. They have great stuff. Jerry, you're back. Oh, QRM Heterodyne Frappuccino. That's a good choice. How's it going? Did you get all those antennas up before the HOA police showed up?
Yeah, I got them all done. Thanks for telling me about Tower Electronics. Now I can have my coffee. I just saved a bunch of money on my PL259s by switching to Tower Electronics.
Don't get caught without PL259s. Visit Tower Electronics online at pl-259.com or at a Hamfest near you. Or give them a call at 920-435-2973. And be sure to pick up some power poles, adapters, and cables too.
Coming to you live from the glass enclosed Faraday box. Here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tower Electronics Hamfest schedule coming up January 29th. This weekend, they'll be in Arcadia, Florida. Then they'll be at Hamcation February 11th, 12th, and 13th. Then it's off to Dalton, Georgia, February 26th, and Cave City, Kentucky on March 5th. But you can visit them anytime, anywhere at pl-259.com. Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. Tonight, Keith Schlottman, KR7 Arcade, joins us on the Orlando Amateur Radio Club and Hamcation Zoom line. Keith has served as the treasurer of the 1010 International Net since 1994. He's an active ham on almost every band, but his favorite band has been 10 Meters from the day he earned his first amateur radio license. Keith is also very involved with the Summits on the Air or SOTA program and generally activates over 100 summits per year. And on most of them, he includes 10 Meters in his operating plans. He's also frequently found operating as mobile station and occasionally from home. And he's been a forum presenter at numerous ham radio conventions, including Dayton, Huntsville, some of the ARRL conventions, and even some local clubs. So, Keith, thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks, Neil. Good evening from Tucson, Arizona.
Well, I'm sure it's warmer there than it is here. It's getting crazy out here, but hopefully we'll get things warmed up here soon, and Hamcation will be warmer, and Hamvention will be warmer. So hopefully that will work, and the COVID numbers go down. Well, speaking of heating up, let's talk about 10 Meters. Cycle 25 is here. So
absolutely.
What's 10 Meters look like these days?
Well, so we're definitely seeing an improvement in 10-meter activity. There's no doubt about it. The numbers in the 1010 International Net statistics definitely support that, but you don't really need to see those numbers to just know if you tune around on 10 meters, you're likely at times to find activity. I'm not gonna gloss it over too much. 10 meters can be at times a challenging band, and that's part of the fun of it. In reality, is you can't be guaranteed except during the absolute solar maximum, probably. But if you compare 10-meter activity today to 10-meter activity 2 years ago, it's certainly easier to make contacts, and a lot of those contacts are farther away. It's just, and that's, part of the fun of ham radio is learning different things, and 10 meters allows you to learn different parts of the solar cycle and what times of day might work, and even what times of year. I'd be glad to talk about some of those differences with you if you'd like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, those differences. And we know that, in a few years, things are going to be just really hopping on 10. But yeah, go ahead and talk a little bit about those.
Yeah. So first of all, the cycle itself, which is roughly an 11-year solar cycle, goes through a minimum to maximum kind of a sine wave. The current predictions seem to be probably in the summer of 2025 is when we might see the maximum. And what that means is that there's going to be many, many sunspots on the sun. And I won't try to go into all the physics involved here, but as the cycle of sunspots increases to maximum, generally the Earth's ionosphere works much better at reflecting 10-meter radio waves. And so you actually 10 meters is particularly evident when the cycle is hot. 10 meters gets hot, and when the cycle is low, it doesn't work as well as some of the other HF bands. And so that's kind of the first level, is that solar cycle level, and we are on the curve going up and up and up constantly towards maximum right now. So it's a great time to get involved in learn some of the unique things about 10 meters as we go towards maximum. So when things get really easy and the band is just hopping, you'll know exactly what to do to take advantage of that. So that's kind of the broad cycle, Neil.
I remember, a long time ago, I started working on the Tasmanian Devil Award, and you had to work so many people from Tasmania, and you got to get on at like midnight or 5 or 6 a.m. to catch those people usually, and lo and behold, I started getting a few, and they were almost always on 10 meters. And so when I think of 10 meters, that's what comes into my mind is, being able to finally get some of those Tasmanian contacts. So one of these days I need to, once I get an antenna back up here, I need to finish that up. I think in North America you have to have 10. From Tasmania, if I remember correctly. If they even still have that anymore, I don't know if that's even a thing. But 10 meters.
I don't know either, but certainly there's certain countries that definitely get more actively involved with 10 meters. I would say probably in addition to the award that you're referring to. There's a lot of 10 meter activity from South Africa, a lot from England, United Kingdom, and Germany is very active on 10. Australia and New Zealand and Japan is often a good place to find DX to Japan on 10 meters. And that doesn't mean other countries, of course, are very active as well. But and oftentimes, during the solar maximums, you'll find different country-specific awards. And right now, people might say, "Oh, I would give anything to work Germany on 10 meters." And during the maximum, you might say, "Boy, I can't believe how many I'm getting, how many of those DLs I'm getting." So that sounds like right in line with that, Neil.
Yeah. Well, there's just it's always great to go check 10 meters, and it's like, when everything else is bad, go check 10 meters because, it is different and sometimes it'll work a lot better. But it just kind of comes and goes. And, when people are actually on the bands, they're not quite as dead.
Yeah. And, if I can just address that for a minute, we like to say, and you and I were chatting about this, if nobody calls CQ, it might sound very much like the band is dead. And you might be really surprised if you call CQ, who might come back to you. And I will tell you personally, I have worked DX on 10 meters in the last, really pretty much every year, even through the solar minimum. So it's there to be had, but you can't get it just any old time. And there are different seasons. If I drop down from the solar cycle level, seasonally, we have what's called the E-skip season, where the E layer of the ionosphere becomes better at reflecting. And typically that's going to occur around the, basically in February and June, around the winter and summer solstice. And oftentimes you'll get E-skip openings, but those openings oftentimes for people in the United States will be within the United States, but maybe I would get an E-skip over to North Carolina from Arizona or up to Michigan or something like that. But even at other times of the year, I'm getting plenty. For example, very recently, I'm working New Hampshire and New Jersey and New York on 10 meters. So there's, and when I say very recently, I mean within the last few weeks. So there's plenty of activity there. And the other thing that's making activity pick up is the introduction of some of the digital modes. So if people are interested in particularly in FT8, and I personally don't do very much FT8 at all, but I know with certainty that FT8 activity is very active on 10 meters, and it's not hard at all to get DX or work many different states if you're stateside. Just using the FT8 digital mode.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the net, because you're one of the officers and you've been with them for a long time. So let's talk about the 1010 International Net and its function and how you can join.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Some people may be surprised to learn that 1010 International Net is actually one of the largest amateur radio organizations in the world, as well as one of the longest lasting. And it formed in 1962. So what is that, 60 years ago. And it formed as the 1010 Net of Southern California, but quickly expanded to become the 1010 International Net. And everybody who wants to join 1010 as a member is issued a unique membership number, and the numbers are sequential. And we're currently very close to 80,000 numbers having been issued worldwide. We have members in, I don't even remember how many countries, but it's in the hundreds. And so it's a long-lasting and very popular organization. And the function is basically to promote the use of 10 meters. And many newer amateurs don't realize that 11 meters, the CB radio band, originally was an amateur allocation, and it got converted. And so one of the, whether it's true or just old lore, legend, or whatever, some people say that one of the reasons 1010 was formed was to try to encourage activity in order to protect 10 meters, to make sure that we didn't also lose that band. And it's 10 meters is such a great band. It's the widest HF band that we have. It's almost 2 full megahertz wide, and you can use CW and sideband, but you can also use FM on some of the upper frequencies, and it's been used in the past for satellites. And so it's a very fun band in so many ways, and by having an organization to kind of promote the use of it, we're helping to in some ways ensure the safety of not losing those frequencies. And as you know, frequencies are so valuable nowadays, and you got to make sure and protect them.
Yeah. So if somebody wants more information about the net and the organization and wants to get a number, how do they do that?
So the first thing I would say is go to our website, which is 10-10.net. I'm sorry, 10-10.org. We are a nonprofit organization, and if you go to ten-ten.org or also 10-10.org, there's a tremendous amount of information about the club and the history and some resources on there. And so that's a good starting point. To join 1010, the current rules require that you actually submit a log of having worked at least 10 current members of 1010. And that's actually very easy to do. And I'd like to share in a few minutes one upcoming opportunity to do that would probably make it fairly easy to join. But you submit a log, and you have to record the person's first name and their QTH and their 1010 number. And a legal exchange of for 1010 purposes is considered to include all of that, the name and the QTH and their number. And part of the goal is to get people to make friends on 10 meters. And I can tell you personally, I've made so many wonderful friends from all over the world, not just in the United States. And, when we have gatherings at Dayton or wherever, we run into all these old friends. And by by requiring exchanging the name in the state, it's you're going to get to know somebody much easier than if all you're doing is sending a 599 or a how many dB you are or something. So it's a fun, really fun, and we have little QSO parties, and even in those where you're trying to make lots and lots of contacts, you still have to exchange the name. So anyway, you work 10 members, and it's a very inexpensive, depending on whether you want an electronic version of the news, meaning a PDF copy, or a paper version. It's like $10 or $15, and you really only have to pay it once to get your 1010 assigned number. Your number is yours for life, and once you've been issued that number, it will never be issued to anybody else, even if you don't renew your dues. But of course, we encourage you to renew your dues, and that also has some benefits associated with being a current paid up member. And so I think, does that answer the question on how to get involved, Neil?
Absolutely. Well, why is 10 meters so? I'm setting you up here. Why is 10 meters so important for beginning hams?
Well. I don't think your audience is exclusively United States, but I do think that the reason here is equally valid for the vast majority of other countries, and that is that the entry-level amateur radio licensing in most countries does permit 10-meter operation, and at least under current rules, if somebody gets their technician license, they're immediately allowed to start using 10 meters, and they can get they don't have to know Morse code. They can get a HF rig and operate sideband between 28.3 and 28.5 megahertz, which is actually where the vast majority of 10 meter activity will be found for phone. If they want to learn CW, they have access to that band, that range of the band as well. And so I think that's the answer to the question is it's so important because those beginning hams, it's kind of like the gateway drug to HF radio for many.
Yes, it is.
Somebody can get a technician license and get a Baofeng or a inexpensive.
Wait a minute! You said the word. I was just saying. It's been forever since we played the Baofeng song. So okay, all right, got it in there. Go ahead.
Somebody can get a inexpensive handy-talkie, and there's a lot of fun to be had with that. I'm not trying to put that down at all, but if you take one of those same hams and bring them over to your station and say, how'd you like to get on 10 meters and talk to somebody in Virginia? Or, hey, if we're lucky, talk to somebody in Japan, talk to somebody in Germany, and not just through a repeater, but you're actually from your microphone to their microphone, sending a radio wave across, space, and you just can't beat that feeling, in my opinion. And so I think it's a crucial introductory band. But I will also tell you, all you have to do is look at the ARRL 10 meter contest to know that 10 meters is incredibly popular amongst seasoned, experienced contesters. The guys with the mega stations are pounding it out on 10 meters when they get the opportunity. So it's an excellent place for a beginning ham to get some of that HF experience, to get introduced to some more, maybe a new Elmer. It's just it's an easy band to get on. You don't need a gigantic antenna. You can even buy a 10 meter only rig in some cases. So I just think it's a fantastic place for a beginner for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, it's time to take a break, so we're going to do that, and then we'll come back with Keith, and we'll open up the phone lines and check the tweets and all that good stuff here with Keith Schlottman, KR7RK from the 1010 International Net, right after this word from ICOM America, right here on Ham Talk Live. Now is the time to spice up your ham shack with ICOM's new ID52 handheld. Now shipping. This radio is perfect for staying in or venturing out and working your favorite bands this winter season. The ID52A is now shipping. ICOM's newest handheld amateur radio is a VHF-UHF dual bander with D-Star and FM dual mode functions. This radio supports conventional FM communications and D-Star simplex, repeater, regional, and worldwide calls over the D-Star Internet Gateway. The ID52A is the first amateur radio handheld with a full-color 2.3-inch waterfall display and the ability to send photos over D-Star with a connected Android device. Other features include a wideband receiver with a guaranteed range of 144 to 148 and 440 to 450 megahertz, integrated GPS, including grid square location, micro SD card slot, micro USB connector, and IPX7 waterproof. Calling all hams, don't forget to find ICOM's booth at the 2022 Orlando Hamcation, February 11th through the 13th, 2022. For more information about ICOM radios, go to icomamerica.com/amateur.
Join the conversation. Give us a call at 859-982-7373. Again, the number to call is 859-982-7373. Or, if you'd rather type than talk, tweet us at Ham Talk Live. Now, here's Neil Rapp with more Ham Talk Live.
Oh, yeah. You're talking ham radio, baby. You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Welcome back to Ham Talk Live. We're on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at hamtalklive.com. And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And before we get back to Keith and phone calls, I think we've got a caller on the line here, so we'll pick up a caller here in just a second, and then we've got a couple of people in the comments, so we'll pick all that up right after this week's Joke of the Week.
Now it's time for the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week, the part of the show where Rick tells us a ham radio joke. The Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week is brought to you by QRM Labs. Now, here's Rick Garrett in 9 GSU with today's Ham Talk Live Joke of the Week.
I've been working on a joke about my Heathkit radio for this podcast, but it's just taken forever to put together.
This has been the Ham Talk Live Ham Radio Joke of the Week with Rick Garrett in 9 GSU. Tune in again next week for another joke from Rick.
Rick, those Heathkit instructions are fabulous. You should use those. Well, thanks, Rick, for the joke of the week. We'll have another one next time, and now is the time for your calls. So if you have a question for Keith Schlottman, KR7RK, give us a call at 859-982-7373. Again, the number is 859-982-7373. You can also tweet us. It's at Ham Talk Live. If you're on Spreaker and you have an account, you can comment, and that'll pop up here on the screen, and we have a couple of those. And if you're listening to us on WTWW or on the podcast version of the show, you won't be able to reach us live since we're doing this this on Thursday night. But first of all, before we get to the phones, we've got a couple of hellos on Spreaker here. First of all, hello from Southern Oregon. It's Art, K7DWI, number 40849. And also Horatio, LU1BJW, number 39329. So, Keith and Art, thank you for being here. And, he says, remind Keith that the winter contest is on February 5th. So Keith, you wanted to say something there?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thank you from KR7RK number 63324. And you heard the other numbers there. That's part of, like I mentioned, we get our own unique 1010 number, never reissued to anyone. So it becomes part of your identity to other 1010 members. Yes, thank you so much for bringing up the upcoming QSO party. And I had mentioned earlier, there's a very easy way to get your 10 numbers to, if you want to join 1010, we have QSO parties, and there's quite a few QSO parties actually. You can look on the website to get information about when those are occurring. But it just so happens that our very next upcoming QSO party is right around the corner. It's going to be February 5th and 6th, and it starts at 01 UTC on February 5th and goes through to 2400 base 2359 on February 6th. So it's a 48-hour QSO party. Currently, you're probably not going to operate the full 40 hours like we may have at some contests during Solar Maximum. But if you get on, and I would recommend, most activity currently is going to be found during daylight hours. I find my best success is usually late morning to early afternoon, but that can vary a lot, sometimes in the early evening as well. There's no time that's bad to try, but on February 5th and 6th, I almost can guarantee, and the QSO party for that period is our winter phone party. So it is a sideband party, and you will find the vast majority of activity somewhere between 28.3 to 28.5, and very frequently, if you go towards the center of that, around 28,400, you'll find activity. Many of the DX stations, the LU1 DJW, who's checked in here, oftentimes the Argentinian stations, Brazil, you'll find them up around 28,450 to 28,500. And it's not difficult to get DX to South America if you learn how to use trans-equatorial propagation, and the timing of that can be important during the daytime. But so I'd encourage everybody, let's see if we can go get LU1 DJW in our logs in a not this coming weekend, but next weekend.
Okay, so a great way to get those 10 numbers. So, well, that's a lot of 10s, a 10 number. All right. Well, let's go to the phones here. Oh, go ahead.
Can I make another quick comment, Neil?
Yeah.
Now that you said 10 for 1010, one of the founding principles of the 1010 International Net is that we do indeed have a daily net, and except for Sundays, never on Sunday. So Monday through Saturday, we have 1010 nets, and those are basically international. And 28.380 is the most common net frequency, but also 28,800. And what the kind of the slogan for that is "See you on 10 at 10," because in Southern California, it would be 10 a.m. in Southern California. So it's actually 1800 UTC. So at 1800 UTC daily, except Sunday, we have a net. And if you're in California, you can say, "See you on 10 at 10."
There you go. All right. Well, lots of 10s going around, so just remember 10. All right. Well, we've got a caller on the line here, so let's see who we have. Good evening. Welcome to Ham Talk Live.
Hi, my name is Tom. My call is Whiskey 8 Tango Kilo. I'm located in Tucson, so I know Keith, and I've worked him dozens of times on his Summits on the Air activations. But I want to change topics altogether. He's been talking mostly about DX on 10 meters, and I am familiar with that. I was one of the founding members of the PJ2T Superstation, operated many contests from there, including a 10-meter contest probably 15 or 16 years ago, and we made several thousand contacts in a weekend on 10 meters. So when it's hot, it's hot. But what I'm interested in is local communications on 10 meters. I personally don't like repeaters. I think repeaters have been obsolete since the 80s when cell phones use became widespread. And when the cell phone towers are down due to a emergency, a weather emergency or whatever, the repeaters are down too. So I think that 10 meters would be more valuable for local communications for public service events. With just a 10-meter whip and 100 watts, I think you could cover most of the urban area here, and I just wonder if Keith has any experience with that.
So, well, good evening, Tom. Great to hear you on. And yes, we have worked so many times, and Tom's a great asset to the Southern Arizona ham community. I will tell everybody that. I'm sure you already figured that out. 10 meters as a local mode, in my opinion, is absolutely wonderful. Many years ago, in the early 90s, I actually started a 10-meter net every Thursday evening in Tucson, and I don't believe that's still going, but it gave me a lot of respect for a local 10-meter net because, 2 meters is pretty blocked. It's pretty much line of sight in most cases. 10 meters, on the other hand, can easily work its way over a hill or around a building. And, it's helpful to be line of sight, but it's not mandatory. You can still get a context. So from that regard, I think it's a better mode, a better band than some of the VHF and UHF. And there are many places where local nets have existed for many years, very successfully, continuing to go. If you go to our 1010.org website, some local nets are listed there. It's always the people who try to maintain the lists of active local nets have a real challenge because they come and go. They're always dependent on at least a few people to be really dependable. I guess, Tom, I would be supportive of a local net around here as much as possible, but I would encourage anybody who, if you don't have a local net, consider opening one up. And one of the funnest parts of all about it is the band may very well pop open on you. And whereas, for 4 weeks running, you get all the local guys and you all know each other. And the next week you open the net and somebody's checking in from out of state and everybody's shocked. And that can be a lot of fun, the surprise of who's going to have access. But for more reliable local communications, I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. And you can, of course, have 10-meter repeaters as well.
Okay, thanks, Keith. I think we will try that, get a 10-meter net going here in Tucson, and see. We've got people all over the metro area as well as out of state, so we'll see who shows up and see if we can get it going.
That sounds
If I remember
great
correctly, didn't a lot of the Puerto Rico traffic ended up on 10 meters when they had the hurricane? I think I remember that 10 actually ended up working out better. So yeah, that's a good tool to have.
Yeah, that I would totally believe that. I don't know that for a fact, but it would make a lot of sense actually. because they have, hills on the island, and if the hurricane comes over and blows down all the repeater towers, you might still want to get across to the other side of the island. And if there's a hill between you, you're probably either going to have to use 10 meters or some really steep NVIS, on 80 meters or something.
Yeah. Well, Tom, thanks so much for calling in.
Thanks,
Tom.
All right, thank you. 7-3. All right. The phone number is 859-982-7373 if you'd like to chime in here. And let me pull up Twitter again here and make sure we don't leave anybody out. And in the chat, make sure. Okay. Well, I think we're caught up here, Keith, and we're getting close to the end here. So let me just throw it to you for any final comments, anything we missed, and then of course remind everyone where they can find the 1010 net information online so they can sign up and find out about these QSO parties.
Okay. Well, I think I want to come back to something I mentioned earlier about the friends you can make. And I think this is relevant for any amateur radio band. And as much as I'm a total fan of 10 meters, I'm a total fan of anything amateur radio. But, I got my introduction to 1010 when I had my very first license, and the bands were good, and I worked somebody, and I wish I had kept track of who it was, but he said, "Hey, do you have a 1010 number?" And I said, "No, I don't know what that is." And he said, "Well, I'll send you something." And, and I went on and made more contacts. And then, a few days later in the mail, I get a package, and the guy sent me a copy of the 1010 News, which is our quarterly. We have a quarterly newsletter. It's 32 pages full of information about the activities and different 10-meter things. And there's no advertising. So it's 32, good pages of information. And this gentleman had taken the time to, put his newsletter in the mail for me and paid the postage, and just to be a friend and encourage me to join up. And that meant so much to me, and put me on the path to be in the fortunate position of being the treasurer here of 1010 for going on close to 30 years now. And I've gone to, we used to have conventions, and for specific 1010 conventions, and of course just meetups at Dayton and things like that. And I've made so many really good friends, and there's very good people. The board of directors are all very friendly. And I think if there's no other reason to join any club, it's to make some friends and to find people that, are interested in the same things you are, and so on. And so I would encourage you to anybody listening to consider joining 1010 for various reasons. One is, like I said, to support and help us protect 10 meters as a band that's allocated to amateur radio. But also, there's just so many benefits to the friendship and camaraderie, and it can get fun to exchange numbers, and there's awards for collecting various numbers and things. And, you find your own level at where that fun lies. But I think that kind of sums up my thoughts about 1010. Does that make sense, Neil?
Yeah, very good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and actually contacting me to get on the show and come on here and talk about 10 meters. I'm excited to get an antenna up and running and see how 10 meters is improving, and get on there and maybe get Tasmania again. So I'm excited to do that. Hopefully we'll get a breakthrough here soon and be able to do that. But it's just great to have you on and talk about this. And I'm sure we can do it again down the road. But remind everyone of the website again, so if they missed the information, they can find that.
Okay, so the website is 10-10.org, ten-ten.org, and also at February 5th and 6th, that sideband QSO party. You do not have to be a member. It's a great time to collect your numbers to join. And if you're not a member, you're welcome to send number 0 or just say, I'm not yet a member. I'm collecting my numbers, and the people who are members are thrilled to work you. So come join us for some fun. And hopefully I will see you on 10 at any time, not just 10.
Very good. Yeah, and hopefully we can say hi at Hamvention or Hamcation or something or other soon. So we'll hope that that all works out. So thanks for being here, Keith. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Neil.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. I'd like to thank my guest, Keith Schlottman, KR7RK, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and calling in and chiming in tonight here with us talking about 10 meters. Before I sign off tonight, I want to share some news with you about this very program. When I started Ham Talk Live back in February 2016, I set out to create a call-in talk show with a professional broadcast feel. I'd always wanted to do talk radio instead of music, and Ham Talk Live was a chance for me to finally give it a try. My hope was that the interviews would be few and far between, and instead I could introduce a topic and provide you, the listener, an opportunity to discuss these topics in a talk radio broadcast format. Once in a while, I'd throw in an expert on a topic and give everyday hams a chance to speak directly with the experts. I also knew from the start that live broadcast media was already in a steep decline, and on-demand media is what's booming. That trend has finally caught up with Ham Talk Live. To stay responsive to our growing base of listeners, we are hoping to make the show more accessible, more portable, and more friendly to our listeners' lifestyles and schedules. So perhaps you can start thinking of us now as Ham Talk on Demand, or even Ham Talk Live once in a while. I ran the numbers and found that during the past several months, for example, 99.43% of people who listen to Ham Talk Live do so after the show is completely over. That's not even counting the listeners on WTWW and YouTube. I recognize that listening or watching programming on demand isn't the future anymore, it's the present. As our audience grows, so does the variety of lifestyles and schedules of each of our listeners. I'm grateful for all of you, so I'm going to make life and listening even easier. We're changing our format, and we will be pre-recorded, not necessarily released on a specific day and time or schedule. You can still reach us on social media and definitely do that, but now you can carry us wherever you go, listen to us when you want, and know that even if we are not so live anymore, we're still bringing you the best in ham radio expertise, personalities, and, of course, some humor. So live shows may happen on occasion, but for the most part, the shows will be pre-recorded. As hams, we've all learned to tinker with things to make them work even better, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with all of you. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.
Well, you came right back to my CQ call. Your readability 5 and strength 9. You never once mentioned your weather at all, and I didn't mention mine. We talked and talked for hours and hours. I completely forgot you're a ham. I don't know your power or the height of your tower.